Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, January 23rd, a little before 8:30 a.m., and we're going to get started working on our homework here. So let's pull in our homework chart, which is a 1-hour chart. We're going to take off. We're going to take off yesterday's overnights. Actually, what we'll do is the other day when we were doing this, I decided that I'd like to try to find a way to keep those levels for research sake, and I think the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to draw them as lines 318 that begin and end in that day, right? So 5318, I'm just going to draw from the end of the day to the beginning of the day like that. Okay. That can't be right. Let's go back here. $53.18, and I'm just looking for overnight low here, going back using Friday 5208. I guess that can be. Wow. Okay, so 5208. Let's bring this back in and give us, looks like those were matching overnight lows. Okay, so we'll go from here. Okay. I'd also like to do the same thing with the value area high, value area low, and VPOC, although I don't need that. That's going to stay automatically. You can see here, if we go back to these days, this is value area high, value area low, and VPOC. Okay. Really what I could do is now, if I needed to extend this value, Friday's value area high, value area low, or VPOC into today, I can always draw that. And if it ends up being a reference that matters to us, I can always draw it and keep it on the chart again for prosperity's sake. But for now, we have drawn in what we wanted to for that day. Let's take a look at current overnight high and overnight low. So let's get this back to the end. scooched in. So here is overnight high from yesterday. So this we're going to draw on just as a solid horizontal line. It goes to infinity in both directions. That's not what we wanted. Oh, silly me. Turn this on. Okay. So that's overnight high, overnight low from last night. This we need to. Yes, buddy. No, Pumpkin, I did not take your Hatchimal. So I'm just going to fine tune this line on here. Maximus, right now, remember, Maximus, remember Dad told you that I have to work right now? Thanks, buddy. Maximus, you need to go out there with mommy, okay? Thanks, baby. Okay, love you, Pumpkin. You got it. So all I'm doing is fine tuning this overnight high and low, so it's just in the section of the chart that I want it to be on. Okay, very good. Now, yesterday's overnight high and overnight low, and I know we're starting to see a lot of lines jumbled up here, okay, but I promise they make sense. They make sense as you get used to what it is you're looking at, what each one means, the different shape, different color. Uh, they become fairly easy to pay attention to. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what we did overnight. So just as a very scrunched up picture, we see from where we opened when we opened back up late last night, yesterday evening, we've come straight down from there. We've actually formed a divergence here at the bottom. You know, if you were trading, at that time, you actually do have a decent trade setup down here. Divergence at the bottom off of a level that matters to us. I'm not sure where the CPOC comes from. We'll get to that later. It doesn't really matter. So currently overnight inventory is short, meaning almost all of the trading has happened below the close of Friday. Here you can see what Friday's close was. We had a little bit of trading above it when we reopened overnight. And then almost all the trading has happened below that price. So it's below yesterday's close, below yesterday's low. As we stand right now, we're going to be opening with a gap down. Gap rules are going to be in effect. The assumption is you will continue to stay gapped down until proven otherwise, meaning you will continue to move in the direction of the gap. You'll continue to press lower until proven otherwise. And what proven otherwise means generally is you'll see an effort to push down towards a level that matters. In a lot of cases, that is the overnight low. When referring to a gap down, push down to overnight low after the 9 o'clock open. Push down to overnight low, come away from it, test it again. If not, maybe not all the way down to it, but somewhere in that vicinity, it holds, and then you start trying to come back up, and you're looking first to be able to get through half of that gap, and then once you can get through half of that gap, you're looking for that to become a support level and make a push towards the yesterday's low to close the gap, and then yesterday's close to go to unchanged and potentially swing from being down on the day compared to yesterday's close, to being up on the day compared to yesterday's close. So let's bring back in homework chart. Currently, we are trading at 52.52. So let's first take a look at what happened Friday. So Friday opened up and it gave us the reasonable expectation that we might see a trend day. Big gap open. We started heading in the direction of the gap. So you see, here's a good example. We opened up. We pushed up. We immediately broke overnight high when we opened. We were sitting at the overnight high when we opened. We pushed up further to go away, create a larger gap from the prior day's close. We pushed all the way up to this former microcomposite VPOC, also the composite high volume node, and we tested this. And if you remember, we were in a trade. Oh, for those of you who were watching Friday, the trade that we were last in when I had to go turned out very nicely. Went in our favor. We got out of our first profit target at 10 ticks. Second profit target, which we had right beneath this microcomposite VPOC, so we got out of our second trade there at 65, and then we had a trailing stop that got us out of our third contract somewhere around 10, 12, 14 ticks, somewhere around there. I don't actually remember the exact amount, but it was a very nice trade, worked out nicely. Not what we anticipated, though. We were really expecting, and what goes back to this homework, we were really expecting on Friday that if we opened and we can get, we didn't realize we would open at the overnight high when we were doing our hypotheses. But we said if we open and we can get above overnight high, stay above overnight high, and see it hold, we were then expecting a push up towards this microcomposite VPOC, which we got. We were also looking at potentially a push towards this microcomposite VPOC. I wonder why those two. This actually should be here. No, this is one. Okay. So the only reason I don't have both of these here is they're pretty much the same number. A couple of ticks away. Maybe I will. Maybe I will add that back in. Just see some. Right, that's why. Okay. So we're gonna. Anyhow, my apologies. So we got out of the second part of our trade there. Now, what we were expecting was that we were going to continue to hold above, and you'll see when we take a look. If I have a chance, when we take a look at the actual trading from Friday, you'll see we at this point we had come above. First hour just about ended. We were sitting above our initial balance high. Remember, the initial balance high, or the IB high, the initial balance is the first hour's worth of trading. The IB high and the IB low are simply the high and the low of that first hour, and those tend to be references that get respected later on. So when we got up to here, we were trading above that initial balance high. We were looking for that initial balance high to hold. I had my trailing stop beneath that for my third contract, and when it didn't hold and we turned back down, all of a sudden we turned into what looked like was going to be a ranging day. Not what I expected. Not complaining. It still ended up being, we were able to trade it exactly like we normally would, but we really were anticipating, because of such a large gap up, we really were anticipating that with the push away from the gap immediately, we really were looking to see if we can maybe push all the way up through and test some of these previous swing highs, which it looks like we need to mark on the chart again. We've been having some trouble here with this software. For some reason, I got this swing high is kind of sitting here in limbo, and I'm pretty sure we didn't put it there. Let's just move this, and we'll do more swing highs and swing lows in just a minute, since we do need to draw them on the chart. Let's get these to be dashes. Remember, the red dash lines are previous swing highs and lows. Okay. So since we balanced on Friday, we remained inside the balance of this much larger microcomposite, which goes all the way back now. We have a microcomposite inside a microcomposite already. This balance we've been trading in this balance now for quite some time, going all the way back to, I think it was December 8th or so. Yeah, we've been in there. We drew out this little micro composite here when we really got into a tight balance. I could probably draw another one here to give us another micro composite VPOC, which is where this guy comes from. So what we'll do is just to make sure we have our information on here accurate. I have no idea where these lines are going. Actually, quite confusing. I really don't want to redo all this homework, but if I see more and more of these lines for some reason being out of place, we might have to, just to make sure that this information is accurate. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a VPOC, microcomposite VPOC, just from around here. Have that come straight across, and then adjust it to make it accurate. Okay, I no longer need this one up here. I got the part that matters most, and that's the VPOC from there. Since we stayed inside this larger microcomposite, we're going to extend this out to include yesterday's trading. And when we do that, you'll see that the VPOC actually shifts down here. So let's take a look at that. Let's note that. So this becomes the current microcomposite VPOC. Nice, perfect. And this is no longer a microcomposite VPOC. This becomes a swing high. So we'll turn this into a dash instead. And we're going to draw. Remember, the previous day's high and low automatically are swing highs and lows, because again, by definition, a swing high is a price that we get to and turn away from. And if it is the high or low of the day, we got to it and turned away from it. All right, so those become our swing highs and swing lows, are much very recent ones. We did not get through any swing highs or swing lows yesterday that obviously need to be removed. And what I mean by that is, as you trade through some of these price points that we had previously had as swing highs and swing lows. For example, this one here. Not sure what that one's referencing to, but here's a swing high right here. Sorry, swing low right here. So we're going to draw this out. Now, you'll see after we create the swing high, we trade away from it. We come back towards it. We gap below it, test it, but never really hold, and then push back down. So we leave this on here as a potential point of interest when we get back to it. If on the other hand, here's a good one. Here was a swing. This would have been a swing low from this day here that we'd have on the chart. Now that we have broken above it and traded through it, actually even this one, if we really want to, we can keep on. But the idea is we pushed above it, we came back to it, we kept trading below it. As if we see that this one starts becoming irrelevant, that we just kind of trade through it without any type of hesitation, it comes off the chart. So we're going to look at the same thing. Here is a VPOC that goes back to just some random place on the chart. I don't understand why these have moved. Sometimes you're at the mercy of software where you plan it out like we have, and it just it does what it wants to do. But this one's supposed to be here. But now that also happens to line up with a new microcomposite VPOC. So that's not all that important. Now here we need to let's get rid of these numbers. Sorry. Okay. All right, got rid of those. This is actually the swing low from Friday, so we'll put that here. Okay. Let's get rid of those numbers too. There we go. Now, so let's take a quick look where we're trading now. Let me start getting into the homework here. I'm sorry, the hypotheses here. So 52.44, big gap down, nice gap down from Friday, and we're gonna pretty much be in reverse of what we were looking at before. We're currently trading near the overnight low, and we tried a trade on Friday because when we opened, we were sitting right at the overnight high. We tried a trade to go short because not only was there the overnight high, there were some other levels that were of importance to us. Okay, this VPOC here was stretched out. This VPOC was stretched out. We looked at that potentially as a resistance. This former value area. We had a couple of things there, and we tried taking a short right before the open that ended up going against us. Well, let's take a look now as we trade at the 52, currently 42. So we're getting close to overnight low, potentially going to break it before the open. We have plenty of time still before the open. It's what time is it now? It is only 8:47, 8:48. So plenty of time still to break that overnight low down here. But depending on where that overnight low pushes to, we might consider taking the same type of trade, or at least paying attention to one, where if we have enough support levels beneath us, we are currently short overnight inventory, so we expect some type of correction of that. We might look to take a long. We might look to take long before the open. In fact, let's bring up our shorter term chart here. Here we are testing overnight low. Still have great divergence from back here. You see how low the BBs are to over here, with current low of the session. And we do have some support areas here down below. So let's see how far down we might be able to push before the open and potentially look for a good trade setup. I should tell you, for the most part, I do not trade before the open. I'm doing this as part of the whole reasoning as to why we're trading on simulation, and that is to test different trading ideas, test different setups. I don't mind doing that. Right now, if we were trading our live account, we would not be messing around with any of that. That would not be part of our trade setups. That may change when we prove that they do work or that they don't work. We'll ultimately keep them out. So let's take a look at some of the hypotheses using the current overnight low, and if that ultimately changes, we'll just have to keep that in mind. Okay, so let's see here. Let me close this. If you guys have kids and have never heard of a Hatchimal, I strongly suggest you look that up. It's one of the cutest things I've ever seen. Yesterday was Maximus's birthday, and we got him one, and watching him play with that thing and watching the Hatchimal hatch was freaking awesome. All right, so I could talk about my son for the rest of the day, but I don't want to. I at least want to get enough trading information in before doing that. But I could talk about him till I'm blue in the face. So currently, here is right around where we're opening up. So the first thing we're going to look for is an open test, overnight low hold, test of this swing high. See if we stay inside the range of this day's trading. And if this breaks, we're then going to be expecting to try to get back into the range, first of this day and then of all of Friday. I guess we stayed tight on Friday because of the inauguration, but this is scenario 1. Okay, scenario 2 is going to be where we open, immediately push towards swing high, have this hold, then come test overnight low, have overnight low hold, and then we kind of stay choppy in between, let's just say here and around overnight low, and then at that point we'll have to see if this level breaks. Like I said, now we're looking to shoot back into the range of Friday. So we'll call that expectation 2. Push up to the swing first, then test overnight low, then push away. Now the next one that for those of you that have been watching, that I would think is going to start seeming fairly obvious, is going to be break below. This holds as resistance. Start testing all this here. We would expect some chop. If this holds, now we're looking to see if we can test through this swing low down to this VPOC. And this VPOC makes no sense to me right now. I don't know where that's coming from. That's actually going to come off the chart, so we're going to redraw that one in a second with a little bit more, hopefully accurate information. What the fuck has happened here? Why? I did restart Ninja Trader, but that really shouldn't matter. We don't have our swing low down here. That's actually a very important one. This swing low down here, we haven't tested this area for a while, and if that swing does not hold, we are in for what I believe to be a pretty sharp move down. Pretty sharp move down from there. That's actually an area I definitely want on my chart. Okay. Let's get back to drawing this third expectation. So again, an open. This time we push below. We hold this as resistance. Chop around here. Attempt at this swing here. And if we break this swing, we need to see this one hold. If this one holds, we could be in for quite a move. And remember, the way today is setting up with a gap lower, this type of opening and showing resistance at the overnight low certainly can be a predictor of a trend day. And what that does is it does actually change a little bit how we handle our profit targets, which we'll talk about as we get into trades. So if ultimately so we'll call this number 3. If ultimately we open and we do hold, and it doesn't necessarily have to be overnight low that holds a support. It could be here, it could be here. If we see these levels hold a support and then we start coming back up, once we start closing that gap, once we see that we get enough of a pullback that it doesn't look like a trend day, then we can change our expectation of that potential trend day. Then we start saying, okay, we're looking for it to become more of a range day, because those are the only 2 days you got. You're either going to trend or you're going to range. Sometimes that range is huge, but it's still a day that ends up having swings more so than just a move in one direction, a slight pullback, a move going back in the original, a move back in the original trend, a slight pullback, so on and so on. So let's get this chart out of here. We did test overnight low here. We see it held. We're starting to lose divergence now. Again, let's go back here. when compared to way back here, we still do have divergence, especially when you look at the middle and the right, the 987 and the 1597. On the 610, we're slowly starting to lose that divergence. We're dipping down pretty good here. We'll see what happens. At this point, I'm not all that interested in taking a trade here because I have a little too much risk on. I would have to try to scale in, but that is not the kind of trade I'm interested in before the open. I'm not looking to scale into a trade. Ultimately, that might be a wrong way to look at it. It might be a great opportunity for, you might get a quick drive at the open, come and test some of these levels. These levels hold and it just runs away without any actual setup. That very well may happen. We actually see that happen often enough. But we will. That's not something I really want to be messing around with. Why am I not? Sorry, I'm taking a look at another chart here that seems to be giving me trouble, but I'm not going to mess around with it. I don't want to potentially have the chart start reloading 3 minutes before the open and not be ready for the open. I did not have a chance this weekend to create a homework chart for the S&P, so unfortunately, that's not something we'll be able to take a look at today. We just created new low overnight, so we're going to move our overnight low down. Now, let me tell you, in the next 3 minutes, we start creating some opportunity down here. We start getting towards here at the overnight. We may start looking to get into a trade because again, inventory is short. We expect some type of correction, and we expect it to be fairly quick. That off so that these letters next time they print will be white. And if we're coming towards price points that look like they can potentially act as support, we would be willing to potentially take a trade. Let's see here. See these levels, these are actually naked VPOCs. We didn't, there's one here, one of these here we drew. Okay, you can see I can move it. I can't move this one. That means it's automatically been drawn. It's automatically been drawn for us by our volume profile software. No divergence here. Definitely not any type. Sorry, on the 610 as this is moving down, we're not getting divergence, and that's true even on the other ones. But you still have decent divergence from here to here on the 987 and the 1597. Minute and a half or so towards to the open. Oh, real quick, it's funny. Again today, I started by having this on the screen to show you right away. There's no news today, so news is not going to be anything that affects our trading. Little over a minute to the open. All our hypotheses stay the same. Big gap down. We are looking to see, one of the areas that we might potentially test on a push back up is we do have overnight VPOC right now, 5250. Remember, when it comes to overnight, 3 levels that matter to us are high, low, excuse me, and VPOC. So we would be watching that 50. We also happen to have another level here that seems to. Let me see. Did we draw this one? No, this is also one that has been drawn for us, but I'm not sure how that would still be there. Normally these are drawn as naked VPOCs, but this is no longer naked. Okay. Anyhow, 5250 could potentially be an area that we swing up to before trying to make our push down. Because again, we are expecting some type of inventory correction from overnight. Let's see if we can get a push down here. I do like the idea of trying to catch a correction back into the gap, so correction back up. really considering taking a quick trade here to the top side using the same ideology from the other day. My hesitation kind of just cost us here. The ideology I'm referring to now is that you have you have a couple support levels beneath you. You have overnight low. You have short inventory overnight, expecting a correction back towards the gap. But let's start waiting to see what kind of setups form, if any. Okay, there it goes. That was the right trade to make. You can see this time. So there's our first 10 tick profit target. This time it would have worked out. So let's just try to remember that. This is the second time. This is actually the third time. The first time I noticed this setup, I didn't talk about it. This is going back, I want to say early of last week. The first time I noticed it, and I think it was also like this. We were opening up near the overnight low with some support levels beneath us, very short. Excuse me. Inventory was very short, and I was having the same thought process as I just described out to you now, and what I described on Friday. In the reverse, and it worked out again there. So this is just good, something good to keep track of. One of the reasons why we're videoing this, it's going to be very easy for me to go back. Ultimately, when I have time, or maybe I'll have someone help me, I'll go back to these videos, actually find trades I take and trades I didn't. As we just the areas where I talk about stuff like this, and kind of cut them into snippets and try to use that as a journal. But that would be a huge help. So if I can do something like that, that would really be a good research tool. So we came up, pushed here, right here to what we were talking about, 52.50, missed it by one tick, so that counts. There's that swing up we were talking to the overnight VPOC. Now this right now, I would certainly be willing to look for some type of setup as a short here, because again, this is not showing. Certainly, there was a move into the gap from overnight. There's definitely an effort to try to get up towards yesterday's low. Yesterday being Friday, but yesterday's low is way up here, way up here. So we still got a long way to go to get anywhere near filling that gap. Not to say that we won't, but at this point we're still looking for opportunities to get short if they set up, not just to take one. This trade here, this idea of everything we described, overnight short, we have some support below us. When you open and make a quick push down in that direction, and you see that slowed down, and this give us enough time to get into the trade. Like I said, it was just a slow reaction on my part. This trade here, this is one where it's really quick. You test, it holds. You need to be in the trade, get your stop loss underneath this swing low fairly quickly, and then you're looking for your 10 tick. This actually 29 is really when I had the chance to get in, when I was talking about it. Easily 10 tick profit target. Second profit target would have been underneath this 50, and third profit target right now would just be as a trailing stop, probably underneath this mid here. But that's kind of the next challenge for us. What's going to happen now is we get this pullback, because we haven't yet set up a decent short here. Again, we tested a level, but we didn't really get any type of decent short opportunity. There's no negative divergence up here. You can see the BBs are pointing up while the price is heading up. We did just get a tiny little bit of consolidation, a breakout towards VWAP. Nothing, again, for me, nothing that I would use as a trade opportunity. It's a little bit too early to really start jumping on board an uptrend here. Meaning, if you look at the open, here's a push up, pull back to VWAP, middle of the day. This VPOC, which is, I have no idea what the hell this VPOC's doing here. Again, I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with this. I don't remember having this much trouble with this software, but so be it. No big deal. Oh, I see. This is. I don't see. Never mind. I'm not trying to figure it out. All right, so we're back to the middle of the day, the VWAP. What we're looking for here really is if we're going to continue making our way down further to widen the gap or to continue in the direction of the gap, what I'd love to see is a setup. I'd like to see this hold. I'd love to start seeing that there are people looking to get long here. Buy or step in, come back up, give us some negative divergence. Let's draw this as I describe it. I'd love to see this price area hold, chop around a little bit, let some buyers get in, come back up, get negative divergence down here, down here. I doubt we would get it here. I think it'll happen too quickly for that. Give us a trade opportunity somewhere around here, and then make our way down towards getting back into the gap. Let's see if we get anything remotely close to that. So here, the other potential here is that we've already come up. We've come up to this level already. This level held as resistance. Now we're not the only ones. We're not the only ones watching this. We're not the only ones that have this idea. I'm sure. You could see here. I'm sure a lot of people started buying, and their stop prices were fairly tight. And you could see this push down. Not surprising, it stretched itself out as it came below the VWAP because people were getting out of. They were selling some of their long positions, but still, the setup I'm looking for still stays the same right now. I'm still looking for this to come back up and give us a good short opportunity. So we do have divergence from overnight low to here, but I want to just point out, remember, big gap down, okay? You hear people talk about market context all the time, and this is a pretty good example of it. The context is we opened in a big gap down, we barely made a dent into it, and we stopped at a very predictable level. Generally speaking, when you see levels like this hold, that's all short time traders. And what that usually means is that throughout the day, more and more levels are going to be respected because it's the short time frame traders that are in the market right now. Long time frame traders or other time frame traders is OTF. If you start reading about volume profile and market profile, they don't give a shit about these levels. Excuse me, they're moving so much size. These levels have nothing to do with them. They don't even. I shouldn't say they don't know. I'm sure they know everything we know and a lot more. But it means nothing to them as far as order entry or where to place their trades and anything like that. But so one of those levels, VPOC is always one that short time frame traders look at. Middle of the day VWAP, also ones that short time frame traders look at. So the more and more you see those type of levels hold, swing highs and swing lows, the more and more you see those type of things hold, the more likely it is you're dealing with short time frame traders in the market. But to get back to what I was saying to do with context. So we have divergence here at the overnight low, okay? And if we were to continue this push down here right now to the overnight low and we kept this divergence, because I'm now using this as my starting point of divergence, not this. Okay, we have a new swing low now. I'm going to use this as my starting point to watch divergence. So if we come back down and we still have divergence, I'm not looking to get long because the context is big gap down, slight push to try to get back into that gap. We really didn't do much. Stopped right there at a level, and we still believe that until proven otherwise, we still believe that this is going to continue to make its way down in the direction of the opening gap. And now we're starting to kind of get this setup that I'm looking for. A little bit of divergence on the 610, a little bit of negative divergence on the 610, but by the time we get back up here, that will no longer be the case. So price action right now is kind of giving us no good trade opportunity, meaning I'm afraid to go. I'm afraid to just go short here. Obviously, there is nothing. I'm right in the middle of today's range. There's nothing to tell me to go short. I'd like to see a pullback to get me into a short trade. The only problem is in that pullback, we will not have divergence on the BBs. And remember, the reason I use those BBs so much for divergence is to keep me from over trading. It'd be very easy to just say if we get a pullback up towards here, I want to go short. If you do that every time you pull back towards a level and create a double top, you're going to overtrade a ton, and many of them are going to be wrong. So I like having that confirmation from the BBs. I don't want to be long, even though we have created divergence off of the overnight low and the opening of the day now. I don't want to be long on a pullback to the overnight low because I really do believe with that type of move, with this type of opening, it's a little choppy here, okay, and that's I can't say that's necessarily to be expected or not. I don't see. Let me just swing back over to my chart here. I don't see anything to tell us that this level in particular should give us chop, but it's a little choppy here. We're putting all this volume in at the very bottom of this gap. Remember this gap, the upper end of this gap, the close, and I'm sorry, the low from Friday is 53.11. Okay, we are a long way away from 53.11. So we're putting all this volume down here, and the more and more volume that we see go in here, the more likely, in my opinion, it is that this is going to push down because this volume is most likely people getting long, thinking that we're going to come back, we're going to close that gap, and in context with the idea of the overnight short inventory, we had a little bit of a correction in that. We had a little bit of balancing of the inventory here where we started seeing this buying, but that's not the end of it. Now, that's not to say that every time you're short inventory overnight, you're going to always correct. It is something we look for, and we had it. We had our first move is exactly what we were looking for. But again, for me, just a little hesitant on the entry. It's not something I'm used to trading yet. It's so no problem. So we did get a push to try to start correcting overnight inventory. We did get a very good potential trade setup out of here. For two reasons. One, the setup in the beginning, the drive down, slow down, give you an opportunity to get in 10 tick profit target. 2 ticks below the level that we were watching, 48. So that's actually really a perfect setup, or at least a perfect trade off of what we were looking for. Now you're still certainly short overnight inventory, but you now have all the volume from the open comes in, right? There's way more volume during the regular trading hours than there is overnight. I believe it's like a quarter of the volume gets traded overnight versus the regular trading hours, and we can actually take a look at that, which we'll do in a minute. Let's get a. Right now, we're actually at a point we really want to be paying attention to. Again, I'm going to be very hesitant to take a long here with the test of this overnight low, even though we have divergence. Normally, if we were at a level like this, and let's say we opened up in balance, we opened up in range or in value, and we didn't have such a gap down, I would normally be throwing in my first potential entry and scale down with entries. I don't want to do that because of the gap down. And if it would have ended up if let's say that happens, let's say we push down, we would have the opportunity to scale all the way down, and then it turns in our favor. I honestly don't care. I think the risk right now is greater that if we push down, we're going to make our way. That 51. Let me get to that price here. Right down here. This level is so important. I really think that if we get through here, we really have a good chance to make our way down and test this level. Because if this level fails, we have a pretty good move below us to come. We haven't been, we haven't been out down there. But below there is 51.52, and I'll show it to you on here. Sorry, I'll show it to you on here. This right here, from here to here, and if this breaks, we're talking now about a whole other a whole other area of where we might end up trying to trade to. So right now, maybe if we see some candles set up, maybe we would get into a long. Not, but for me, I'm not comfortable just doing it off of overnight low with divergence again because of the gap down. This is actually a nice little candle setup here potentially. If we were looking to take a trade here, test the low, little bit of a bullish candle. This could, on many other days, this would be the beginning of a setup. We actually probably would be long already on many other days. Test of overnight low, second test of overnight low, we'd probably be long here about 29.30, but not doing that today. Excuse me. Okay, quick push through overnight low. No surprise there. A long liquidation. You got those stop orders right below the current low of day. So you see when we go beneath it, we snap through it. That's all those stop orders getting filled, creating that quick push down. So what we're looking at this point is a couple of things. We're looking to see if now overnight low becomes resistance, and if it does, do we get a trade set up to get into it? If it does not, we're going to look to see middle of the day VWAP for some type of resistance. I'm not just putting a trade in. This is about to get confusing, and I'm sorry. I'm not just putting a trade in here at price because even though we believe it's riskier to be long than it is to be short, we do have divergence down here. Okay, so we're coming far enough away from it that we'd have room to get into a trade, make a push down, and still get out of our first profit target if we can get into a trade at 34, 33. But I'm not just putting out an order there. Again, you know what? I shouldn't say that. I think actually. So this VPOC that I can't figure out where it came from, right now it's sitting on top of opening range mid. Opening range mid is an area that matters to us. Hmm. I point that out only because potentially as we do come up here, I may throw an order in to try to get short, and I would be willing to scale maybe up to opening range mid, and my stop would be pretty much above that. I don't want to scale all the way up to the high of day. What I'm looking at is if we're going to stay in this downtrend. So here's our high. The whole way down, we've had lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, currently lower high. If we can get a pullback somewhere into here, maybe it might be even 33, 34 that we start getting into a trade and be willing to get into more, 36, 37. It's only a few tick difference. It's not a ton of scaling opportunity, and our stop be above the opening range mid, because I think if we get a pullback and we start coming back above here, now what's happened is at that point we have a low and we've broken these lower highs with this move. I'd start to get a little bit weary of the setup of a day starting to become a range day more so than a trend day. Where let me draw it out. I know what I just said was confusing. I'm sorry. So, this whole way down, it's lower high, lower low. If we come up and we get above here and we get into this area, now I'm afraid of we start pulling back, but we hold whatever number we put in here, whatever level gets formed as we get up there, and we could easily start to see a day where we're not pushing down in trend. Now we've just started kind of flattening out a little bit, and that could set itself up for a range day. And remember, it's not the entire day I give a shit about. It's the first hour that I care about right now. And right now we are definitely holding here. Um, but we're still testing this overnight low. This will, we're putting our volume in over here. Um, creating a point of consolidation. You can see we consolidated here a little bit, snapped away, came back down, consolidated here. We've snapped away, and let's see what ultimately comes of that. That was close to an entry. We did form micro double top here. For me, everything in my bias, because of context, is skewed to the downside. From the upside, the only thing we can talk about is we do have divergence here. We just don't have. I just don't want to be long. I just don't want to be long until we create a setup that gives us a reason to change our mind on that. Eleven tick swing. That's what these numbers here mean. This means, oh yeah, that did not help at all. Sorry. This means that it's 11 ticks from the bottom of the swing to the top of that swing. The longer we stay in consolidation, the greater the move out of the consolidation is expected to be. The way you look at it is kind of like you're squeezing a spring, you're compressing a spring, and the longer you stay in consolidation, the more we are compressing the string. Sorry, I took us away from. There we go. Just one thing. Let's some quick volume profile stuff. You see here we have a low volume node of 5232. You've heard it a few times now. We say a lot of times this can act as resistance. So if we were looking to get short at this micro double top, you see it in the volume profile as well. You would put an order in here, maybe even here, where you start seeing that sharp decline. Because this sometimes shows you a potential point of resistance where last time we got to this price, there was no interest in trading here. So you look at the level where the large volume node, the high volume node right next to it as an entry point. So which could have been here. Now again, for me, I would almost be forcing a reason to get short here, and I really don't want to do that. I just wanted to kind of show you from a perspective of volume profile how we look at the low volume node. And so second part, sorry. You know what? Actually, hang on 1 second here. We're getting back up towards middle of the day VWAP. We're gonna watch for a candle setup here. We might be seeing an entry potentially coming up here. The only reason I didn't put out trades right away at this VWAP middle of the day is because we do have positive divergence right now. So I really want as much confirmation as possible, and it looks like it pulled away from us further than I would like. Darn it. It's okay. You know, what I meant by the positive divergence is we have positive divergence from here, and we currently are seeing the BBs turn up. Now that would change obviously as we head back down, but think we might have missed one. No big deal. That's not fair. I can't call it a miss. I don't. I just didn't like. I just didn't like the way it was setting up. There is, you really you would have, if we pulled the trigger, we're probably in the trade 32, 33. Gets us awfully close to the low of day for our first potential profit target, and that's just too close. Just too close. Really tight opening range so far. Low 21, high 50, not even a 30 tick range so far. Really, really tight opening range. Honestly, the only trade setup, well, I guess depends on how aggressive you are. Definitely, this was a nice trade setup. Missed that one. We also talked about the overnight VPOC, and remember, we talked about this before it happened, right? And that's so important when it comes to volume profile and using these levels. Is you see these levels long before they happen. Um, so we said what we're going to look for is going to be a push up towards the overnight VPOC. That's going to be a spot that we wouldn't be surprised to get a swing towards, and then see if it turns away from there. Now, I didn't go short just off of price level. Truth be told, taking context into account, I would have been more okay with doing that, taking a short off of price level here with a tight stop, because remember, gap down. This is an initial move to start correcting the overnight short inventory. Depending on how aggressive you want to be, that could have been a trade for you. Remember, I don't expect all of us to trade the same. I hope that every one of you trade better than I do, and I hope that I do very well trading. When the reason why I talk about so many things in hindsight, number one, hindsight is what we have. Number two is because just because I don't think something is a good trade setup doesn't mean it's not a good trade setup. It might fit your risk profile. Um, it might fit something that you're watching. You might be using other I don't want to call them indicators, but other it could be indicators, other price action that you're looking for. So that's why I talk about these. Not that, oh, look what happened here. We talked about this before it happened. And if you see me trade, generally I go 2 ticks below a level. This level was 50. Here's your 2 ticks 48. There's no doubt that that's easily a trade entry. If you tick above it, you could have gotten pretty much all the contracts you wanted to go short. But if you had orders in to go short at 48, and you tick above 48 here to 49, you would have gotten filled on pretty much everything you wanted there. Here we come up again, starting potentially giving us another trade setup. We're slowly losing our confidence right now in this idea that we're going to start really pushing down if we don't see that happen soon. So again, it's why I'm waiting for a trade setup, not just using price point. This VPOC means nothing to me, but it is also opening range mid. All these little blue lines mean nothing to me. These little blue dotted lines. These should not be there. I don't know what this I don't know why that software is creating issues. Again, watching for a trade setup here, looking for a decent candle setup. You'll see we're not really getting any help right now from the BBs. BBs do read slightly positive right now, but that almost never matters to me. I don't look at them for trend. Again, keep in mind it's been under a 30 tick range. Really hasn't been a lot of trade setups here. Very important we don't try to force one. $9.30 just kind of came and went. Didn't get much. You know, we did come outside of this channel here again, but we didn't get much in the way of trade. And look how strong that 610 BB looks here at the bottom left of the screen. Look how strong this looks, and price has barely moved, right? So that's why I say I don't really watch these for trend. And barely moved, I mean 15 ticks. I mean it's not nothing, but you'd have to be dead on at the bottom and dead on at the top to get those 15 ticks. I guess 16, sorry. But currently overnight low really does seem as if it's trying to hold a support. I still, with where we're trading, where we opened, until something happens to prove otherwise, I still believe we're going to start trying to make our way down. Again, that doesn't mean I'm just throwing trades in. It's nothing here is attractive as a trade setup as far as I'm concerned. A lot of overlapping bars. And you know we have to be very careful here because we don't really have any levels here, which we just kind of saw what that means. Those moves can happen fairly quickly. But again, I'm watching for a candlestick setup. I'm looking for, basically what I'm looking for is a bar to close bearish, kind of like this is setting up to. You know, there's still 140 ticks left, so that can change. But I'm looking for a bar to close bearish, and then I'll come in at an entry right beneath the close of that bar with a stop at a swing high. But right now there's nothing. So that is not nice little doji. That's not a horrible one. In fact, I would be willing to get into a trade. I want to be below that price. I would be willing to get into a trade if we push below this low here. Have my stop, and that's going to be the beginning of a scaling because we're going to basically be willing to scale all the way up to. I shouldn't say that. Shouldn't say that. We'll see. We'll see if we treat it as a scale in or if we just keep our risk on right now as one contract. A little bit of a forced trade, getting a little bit bored. Big issue for me in the world of trading, but not something I should be doing. But see, this wasn't a horrible candle to look at for a potential turn back down. It's okay. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Basically, if you guys are familiar with second entries, that's actually a second entry short. Not a great signal bar for the second entry short, but that is a second entry short. I'm going to be looking for another candle setup as a potential scale in. We have definitely no divergence if you look where we were on the BBs here versus where we are on the BBs now. As we come up to this overnight VPOC, this 5250, we definitely don't have any negative divergence to try to throw a short in at that level. So we might limit our risk here to one contract, or depending on how these set up, we might look to get into another contract off of a decent candle setup, but not a great trade, not a great trade in context. I don't usually trade off second entry shorts. Again, my bias definitely played in there where I do I do believe that until proven otherwise, we are heading down. Proven otherwise means that we're going to come up above this overnight VPOC and start making our way up towards here. Just stuff that we kind of looked at in the homework. But what I'd like to see now, now that we're retesting up here, what I'd like to see, let's actually put this up one more. What I'd like to see is, this is a large stop loss for the one, but it is one contract. So I don't know if you guys remember, or if I talked about it much, I'm willing to take a $300 risk in a trade. That's my maximum risk for one trade. Now, that whether that's one, two, or three contracts, still the overall risk that I'm looking to take and be willing to take is a $300 risk. So what I'm watching for here now, same basic idea. I'm looking for a decent candle setup to show potential that we're going to turn around, and I would use that as a potential scale. Let me just widen out the ES in case somebody is paying attention to it. ES looks like it's testing its that overnight high. No, well, maybe, yeah, it is. ES is testing its overnight high right now. So strong push there in the ES seems to be correlating with this strong push here in oil. Yeah, definitely got bored on this trade entry. Not the best one. Again, like I said, I don't usually just trade off of second entry shorts. My bias did play into this. Really should have looked for a better signal bar here. If I am going to look for that second entry short, better signal bar would be a bar that came down and closed down. Okay, so let's throw that one out the window. Certainly it counts, but let's look at what we've done. So because we were saying as we were staying down here, the longer and longer we're staying, and the more likely we're looking into the beginning of a ranging day, and that seems to be what has happened. And remember, for me, all I care about is the first hour. It doesn't matter to me if it turns down and goes down to 51 even later on today. It's just what happens in the first hour for my trading. Don't really have any good levels to start playing off of here. So what that means is we are now going to be looking for a long. So 52.67 is what we're watching for as a swing. That was a swing level we had seen before, so that'll be the first level that we watch a really nice strong push up here. So it turns out, even though we took context into account, turns out making trades towards the overnight low off of this positive divergence, turns out that would have been the way to go, scaling in. Now again, in context, I'm not disappointed that we didn't do it, regardless of that it ended up working out. I am disappointed in the second entry short not working out and getting a little ahead of myself in it. But again, so I'm going to review this not because I'm saying I should have taken this trade. I didn't take this trade. I didn't take this trade because of the context. Over time, that may change. I'm reviewing this because you guys might look at it differently. So I at least want you to see it. So we have our open here. We drive up. We come down. We test overnight low. We break overnight low, and we have no real minor divergence. We do have some divergence here actually. You can see it more so in the 1597. Okay, we push away from it. We come back again to test. Now we've really started building an upward slope in the 610, slightly in the 987. Come back above the overnight low. Here again, now we start seeing a slope up in that 610, and then this little candle here, same type of entry you just saw me make. You can enter into this candle right above this high if you wanted to. You even could at this close if you wanted to be that aggressive. And then it starts making its way up again, for me, with the context at that time, it's not something I wanted to do. We could see again how quickly we moved through this previous top, what was the high day. Same exact reasons we talked about before. There were stop losses up here. Mine was one of them. You saw exactly where I had my stop loss. I can assure you I wasn't the only one that had my stop loss in that area. We had no divergence as we were coming up here. So again, taking the context of the morning out of this, no surprise that it came pushed through what was the high a day. I didn't get all the way up to the 67, stopped at 63, a few ticks away. So right now I'm actually looking to play both sides of this. Meaning, if we could get a pull back down towards middle of the day, opening range mid, VWAP down into this area, I would probably be looking to try to get along. As we come back up and we come and test this level, if we create negative divergence, I would be looking to get a short. We're also going to pay close attention as to what happens at this overnight VPOC. Not anymore just because it's overnight VPOC. It also happens to be right next to what the high a day was, the opening range high. Because the way we snap through it, we want to see, is this going to potentially start holding as support? Which, if you look at the chart, you see these the volume profile, you see these low volume nodes here. We talked about how low volume nodes tend not to get a lot of trading happen in them. So this will either come to it and push away, or come to it and push through quickly. That's the general expectation. Now, over time, you do see them fill in usually, as more and more time passes. You can see the ES has turned down. See what happens here at this price point, this level. That's a nice little bump in volume here, this 5257 high volume node. Considering how fast we pushed up and came down, that's a fair amount of volume that got traded there. Just watching now for a decent candle setup to potentially get into our first long here. It's not as far as I'd like from the high of day, but we do have room to this swing level here at 67, 52.67. And I'd be willing to scale in, and I'd want to scale in all the way down to the middle of the day in the VWAP. So this is what a good bar looks like. Now it hasn't closed yet, so I don't want to just throw the trade in. It would this in 100 ticks, it could certainly come back down here, and then it wouldn't look like a good bar anymore. No real divergence forming yet. We do see the 610 coming down, but that move, it would look like if we push back up here that we would lose that divergence. The only reason I didn't take the trade is I would need to take that trade at about 57, and that's only 10 ticks to this swing here. This is a good looking trade though. Tiny bit of divergence on the 610 here, but nothing on the 987, nothing on the 1597. So I'm not looking to get short there. Really should have been scaling. I really should have had some an order out here at the opening range high. Okay, so we've touched this level. We're testing this level. Let me make sure this is one that matters to us. It is not one of those fake. Again, this is a fake one. Ignore this. I have no idea where this is coming from, and I can't wait to figure it out. But I just don't want to do it to you guys right now. I really should have had a trade in here. The way we blew through this, the way we pushed right through this, really should have led us to have enough confidence to put in an order here at 52 as our first entry and being willing to scale all the way down to the VWAP as it creeps up. Let me show you something we could be forming here. Could be forming a head and shoulders. Okay. So we're gonna watch that. We're gonna watch that because if that forms, we're not necessarily going to be able to get a trade all the way up at this level. If we, I'd like to see negative divergence with this head and shoulders as well, but we could be forming that type of pattern here. We need to see a bit more of a pullback for that to be a potential setup here. Really should have had a trade here. Okay. Let's see if we come back again and test that 5250. Opening range high, overnight VPOC level here. And I'm actually going to be heading out a little maybe a few minutes earlier today than normal. So I am keeping paying attention to the time. Okay, here's what we were talking about. This is kind of the setup. We don't have any negative divergence, so I'm not crazy about it. But this is, it doesn't necessarily get drawn out exactly the way I drew it. But we were looking for pull back around here, pull back up to around here, and potential short entry. So that's kind of what is starting to form. I would like it to come a little further down, make its move back up. I'd also love that to start forming some divergence. Give us a nice negative divergence, I should say. Give us a nice short opportunity. Also, we are watching for a potential long opportunity. Not really just looking to throw in here right now. The first test is always the one that tends to work the best. Remember, levels are like rubber bands. The more often you touch them, the weaker and weaker they get. So I'm not just looking to throw a trade in here now. First test I really should have. ES has pulled back, kind of sitting in the middle of the day's range right there. Oh, you know what? I think I know what caused this. Could be wrong, but I thought I saw a setting. I don't remember changing that setting. Hmm. Let's see what that is. Think. No. Looks like we might have a decent short setup coming up here. Oh shit. That happened to me the other day too. I was messing around with a Fibonacci and something had kind of set itself up and I missed it. This is a decent short trade here. It's all right. Anyway, like I said, I have to go. Damn it. Remember what I drew, okay? Kind of what we start seeing here. We're starting to see a head and shoulders. Would have liked to see this one pull back a little bit further down, but we are starting to see a head and shoulders. We are seeing divergence in the 610, rolling over in the 987. Definitely no rolling over in the 1597 as of yet. And at this point, I am going to call it a morning. Not a great trading morning for me. Missed the trade here. Entered a trade early here. Definitely let my bias get the better of me. Should have waited for a better trade setup, even if it is going to be a second entry short. Which again, if you're paying attention to any of that, technically it's really a third entry short. First entry here, second entry here, third entry short here. Don't like, well, regardless of that, bad signal bar, bad signal bar. So got ahead of myself and wanted to get into a trade there, and we just missed this one again. We drew this out. This is not a hindsight trade. Unfortunately, I was trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this thing, but it's okay. Drew this one out. Good trade entry here. First profit target is going would be 10 ticks 53, so you probably may or may not be out at that point. The stop loss would be above this. Just show you here. You can scale in. No, never mind. These are not real. You don't have another level till you get up to. Let me show you here. So you're not scaling in onto this trade. You should be into this trade. All three contracts from here. Stop loss above, and I'll show you what I mean here. So 63 stop loss would be 71, 72. Three contracts, 10 ticks would be $300. So you're under that risk. Again, 53 would be your first profit target. You may or may not have been out of one of your contracts or not. I don't know. At that point, second profit target really can't. You actually should be out of two contracts if you're doing 53 because you really have to assume this may hold, and then you keep your last contract on as a runner. All right, guys, I have to go. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me or comment if you find the YouTube videos if you are watching those. Other than that, you guys have a great day, and I will see you. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye bye now.